Got it. And we're going to go live on Facebook in a minute. So welcome everyone to the Government Affairs Economic Development First Friday Forum. We're excited to have Representative Joe Casello with us today. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Michael Weiner and he'll do the introductions.
Thank you, Stephanie. So we were just talking about it. I've known Joe now for almost 15 years. Joe was a city commissioner in Boynton Beach before he went off to Tallahassee for District 90. It's entertaining. Go look at the District 90 map. I think he has as many fish in his district as he does people. Don't ask me how they draw the districts. Nice to see you going out to the 200-mile line. Joe has served us ably, and he really is Mr. Palm Beach. Seriously, if you look at that map, you will see the territory he covers. It's a vast amount, probably more than anybody else we have in Tallahassee. He's gotten on some great committees. He's on the State Affairs Committee, Ways and Means, Criminal Justice, and this one has to be a hard one, Education Quality Committee up in Tallahassee. He's on the Regulatory Reform and Economic Development Subcommittee. So he is at the heart of it. He really is. But the one thing I want to add, he is from the same state as Mark Wahlberg and Leonard Nimoy. So just after he starts talking, I wanted to see if you can guess what state he's from. Joe, thank you very much for your service. Talk to us a little bit about what you're going to be doing in Tallahassee in the upcoming years.
Good morning, everyone. Morning, chamber members. Thank you for having me, Michael, and thank you for that kind introduction, if you will. As you know, I do have a history here in the Palm Beach County area. In my district now, the redistricting, and I have no idea how they do redistricting sometimes. But the way it has ended up this cycle is that I have the cities of Boynton Beach and Delray Beach, which is Delray Beach is new to me in the form of helping with the government issues. Previously, I didn't go any further than the Boynton Delray border, but now taking it encompassing of all of Delray. So it's a learning experience to me of what the Delray issues are. But they're very common. The cities share a lot of the issues that face every city, really. And so it's an easy transition. Obviously, I know a lot of people through the years that we made these relationships. Michael, you being one of them down there in Delray. So that's a comfort level for me as far as bringing legislation forward or talking about issues on, what is Delray's needs or wants, or how can I help at the state level in facilitating those? So that's where we're at. My voting record speaks for itself. I was on the League of Cities and such. I'm probably a moderate, middle of the road type guy when it comes to votes. My friends across the aisle call me the good Democrat, that's good. It's not a bad label to have up there in Tallahassee. It's about earning the respect of your colleagues. It really is, and building those relationships. And I think we've done a great job in doing that. And like any good business deal, your word should be your bond, and that's how we work things. So we can take any direction you want to go with this little conversation. It'd be great.
Well, I have a question to start out with. The legislative session alternates every other year, and sometimes the session starts in January, and sometimes it starts in March. So this coming legislative session is going to start in January. So that means the committee meetings are going to start very soon. And it also means that if there's anything that we need to advocate for, we need to get on the agenda right away. Can you give us some insight of what the agenda is going to look like and the timeline?
Yeah, Stephanie, you're absolutely right. A lot of people have the misconception that we start doing legislative work when the session starts. Usually by the time session starts, a lot of the issues have been discussed or in place to be voted on. A lot of the groundwork has been done. And I tell this to everyone now, that the time to get your issue heard or on the agenda is during those committee weeks, to work them through those committees. Because like I just mentioned, by the time we get to the session part of it, it's pretty well established what direction it's going to go and not go. So yes, committee weeks are very important. And I advocate, and I say this to groups that I talk to, that some of the bills that we file come from individuals or organizations like the chamber. There might be a pressing issue that say, look, if we put this in a form of legislation, maybe we can address it in a better manner. So those where the ideas come from. It's incredible. We talk about them, we write them down, we give them to drafting, they put them in a form of a legal thing, and then we take it from there. See if we can get some committee hearings. But yes, getting back to your original question, committee weeks are the most important part of any legislative session, in my opinion.
So when exactly does that start taking place? It's very soon.
Yeah, very soon. Well, like I mentioned earlier in a little conversation, we start in September. The first week we go up there, it's a lot of meet and greet. Not much gets done in September, but I believe we really start in earnest like in October, November, and December. Okay, those weeks where we start putting weeks together, where things will start being filed, bills, appropriations, and such, where we actually having conversations in committees. September 1 is more of a meet and greet type week.
Got it. So, well, I'll hand it over to Michael in a minute, but I just have a couple more questions quickly.
Sure.
So, what are your specific priorities for the upcoming legislative session?
Well, obviously the last couple of sessions, we don't have to beat the horse to death here. There is some hot button issues up there discussed in the legislature, and doesn't matter what side you're on, it is what it is. Okay, and you've got to learn to accept that. Okay, I'd like to get into the nuts and bolts of local, appropriations type thing, or some local rules where we can help the communities I represent. And when it comes to like abortion and those type of things, great. You're either for or against it, but I get elected by the people in these communities. I'm a public safety guy. I'm a local government guy. I was a city commissioner in Boynton Beach for 6 years. I know how local governments work and what their needs and wants are. And so it's important to have those conversations with the leadership of those communities or those little, I'll give you an example. Ocean Ridge, they're all septic systems in there. They've never filed an appropriation to go from septic to sewer. So we had a meeting the other day with the city manager. She's new and all, and we walked her through the process, and we're going to help them to try to get some appropriation money to try to make that procedure a start. But those are the kind of issues I work on, local issues that I bring forward up to whatever they might be at the moment. I just gave you an example of one that we just dealing with now in Ocean Ridge.
Now, that's excellent. It's interesting that you mentioned public safety because you're a former firefighter, aren't you?
Yeah, a lot of years as a firefighter. And look at when people move into a community, public safety, in the education system is always two of the first things they look at when they're, moving into a community. I'm a big public safety guy. I think our first responders deserve, nothing but the utmost respect that we can give them in taking care of them health-wise and such. We passed a couple of bills last year that, that helps them in the long term as far as reducing the years that they, before they can retire. I can tell you there's nothing more taxing than to be an old firefighter trying to do the job. I can tell you that from experience. So it's all good. Yeah, but public safety, police and fire are high on my agenda. Yeah.
Well, a lot of people don't know this, but this is something we're going to start promoting in the near future, that the Delray Beach Chamber advocates for the business interests of Delray Beach. And we have an advocacy agenda that focuses on the city level, the county level, and the state level. And the way that those two work together sometimes is through local appropriations, as you mentioned. So the city of Delray Beach is very smart about requesting appropriations, and the chamber always writes letters to the governor and our state representatives to hopefully pass some of these appropriations. But we're having a little bit of trouble in the past couple of years because they end up getting line item vetoed at the end. Do you have any suggestions on how we can surpass something like that?
I'm glad you brought that up, Stephanie, because I had first and foremost, I know a lot of the city commissioners in Delray. In fact, I just had a nice conversation with Rob Long and Brian Boylston. So I'm in tune to what the needs are at that level. But you're absolutely right. There's nothing more heartening to take an appropriation, have an appropriation, and file it and get it through the process to where it gets on the governor's desk. And for no rhyme or reason, okay, it is vetoed, line item. And so when I this last session, after we went and get these legislative updates, and when I say, look at, we got these appropriations approved, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves and get all excited about it because they could be taken away in a blink of an eye through the pen. So unfortunately, that's what happened. I had a conversation with my staff just yesterday about this, and we're going to go talk to the governor's people and say, look, I was with the leader, the minority leader last night, Driscoll, and I asked, I said, well, what is going on? Why did my appropriations, get vetoed like that? I'm not a radical of any sense up there in Tallahassee. Like I said, they seem like me. But with that being said, bottom line is what do you bring back to the community? That's what it's about. I'm working. You got to show me the fruits of your labor, for the community. And it's more disappointing to me to think I get all excited in the sense that it's like Christmas morning and the presents are gone. So that's a horrible analogy.
Well, I'm really happy to hear that local appropriations is a priority for you. That's excellent. We're really happy to hear that because we have some local nonprofits that go through the process too, like the EJS project, which we also wrote letters for.
And we had that. We got them approved like $250,000.
I know.
And it went through the whole process, and I'm excited about this. And it gets to the governor's desk, and last minute he vetoed it. We worked it up for $250,000. Yeah.
I know. So I'm so happy that you're focused on that and that you know that. So meeting with the governor's people, that's probably the only thing that you can do.
Yeah, we're gonna have a frank conversation, believe me.
Oh, that's excellent. So we're going to get more involved. The Delray Beach Chamber too. We're hoping to go to Palm Beach County Days next year when that happens at the beginning of the legislative session. But that's really important to us to be able to try to bring home appropriations for our community and our business community as well, and our chamber members.
It's what it's all about, Stephanie, really, helping the community in form of state dollars, to get things done. Believe me, that's the game. That's the end game in politics.
Okay, well, I just have one more question, then I'll hand it back to Michael. Sorry. So also our advocacy committee did a survey recently, and we surveyed our members of what are some of the most important business issues that they have. Okay. And by far, the two main things that came up were affordable housing, which I know that the legislature worked on quite a bit in the last session, and workforce development. We're finding a lot of our businesses are not able to get the employees that they need and the training that they need. One of the main things that we want to work on is trying to get to the high school and recent graduates and get them in a pipeline to be able to work in our automotive industry. We have a huge automotive industry in Delray Beach, and they don't necessarily need a college degree to have a really lucrative career. So we're trying to work with the school board and work with the schools to marry those two together and try to do that. But if you have any suggestions on workforce development and things that the chamber can do to help alleviate these problems for our businesses, we're open to suggestions.
Okay, I'll just give you a quick personal story on and I think it ties into what you just mentioned. Is that I have 3 younger sisters, and they have their PhDs in medical law, and their couple of them are medical doctors. I, Joe Casello, went to a vocational school, okay, and I became an electrician by trade. So getting to what you're mentioning, not everyone has to go to a FSU or be a Gator or anything, like that.
Mm.
These trades are out there to be had. And we work very closely with workforce programs in getting into the high schools and telling these kids, okay, these children, that there are other options, okay, other than you sometimes when you drill as a kid, your parents will say you got to go to college, you got to go to college, you go to college. In some cases that's true, but not always. I've always found that if you can work with your mind and hands, okay, it provides a great living. And like you just mentioned, the vendors, they're looking for these people and they pay good wages. Now, getting back into affordable housing, but it's a two-edged sword. These jobs, although they might be plentiful, all right, you can't afford to live here to work at those jobs. That's the one of the issues. I'm not saying that's the underlying, but it's one of the issues that happens. Okay, so we've got to come up with, and I think we're working on it. I think that I feel good. We've done a little. We had a little push last session, with the ship and sail programs and housing. So I think we're headed in the right direction. We'll see if we continue that this session. Hopefully we do. But we need places for these individuals to work. In these trades or for the vendors.
Well, that's what we want to work with you on as well. So those are our main priorities from what the business community has told us. So we'll be continuing to work with you on that.
Great. Look forward to it.
Okay. Well, Michael, I can turn it back over to you now. Sorry to monopolize it.
We are so lucky that the head of our chamber is so knowledgeable about what goes on in the state of Florida. We really thank you, Stephanie. You stole most of my thunder because you covered all the big issues. I just think it's great. We're lucky to have you and to have this window on the world. Joe, the Live Local Act is about a year old now. And I just heard that there's going to be 400 units at the old Kmart down near the railroad tracks in Lantana along Federal Highway. It's the first I know of that's actually seems to be going vertical.
Right.
There's a lot of hand-wringing among the municipalities about Live Local Live. And is going to be tweaked. Do you see anything? What are we going to do? Is everybody pleased with the program? It was a big change. It's a big change down here.
Yeah,
in what you can do in the local community.
It is, and here's the deal. We can do things up here in Tallahassee per se, but on the local level, people got to buy into it at the local level to make things happen. And it can be tweaked. Everything can be tweaked to make it come out of the ground. Come vertical, if you will. I think, in my opinion, that it's a fairly new program, and once we get these, couple coming out of the ground or up and running, I think people are going to see the success in this, okay, and going to buy more into it. It'll be a lot easier moving forward to make this happen. So, I mean, that's just my personal view, but like I say, it's a new concept, but local government has to buy into it. The local government has to buy into it to make it happen, and not make it so difficult, through the permitting process and everything else that you have to go through, that sometimes bogs down, more than its share of projects than it should.
Well, that would be great, because while the county has been working on it, and we have a bond program, and we're doing some things of permitting at the county level, incredibly, we've probably only added 10 to 15,000 affordable units in Palm Beach County, which, when the property appraisers on the line, they can tell me if I'm right or wrong. I think we have 600,000 residential property tax bills. They'll tell us if I'm anywhere close. So you can see right now we're only doing a drop in the bucket. So we're rooting for you up there, and it's nice to know that the program is still going to be supported. The legislation is still going to be supported.
And I think we're going to be building on that. Like I say, there's a real appetite in Tallahassee for this. They realize that this is a real issue. And it affects all communities. It really does. It's not a partisan issue. It's a bipartisan type issue, if you will. And so I think, the majority of people on board with this. I think the governor is on board with this, to get this thing moving. And like I say, once the program, the hardest part of any program is getting it started, right? And seeing that success, to build on that success. So I think that I'm excited for that project in Lantana. I think that's going to be like a flagship, if you will, and we'll see where it goes.
So one other question, and then I hope we will get some questions from those of you who have phoned in or on Zoom. So you serve on one of the educational committees,
Mhm.
And I know it's just the opposite. It's not your favorite topic. Is there a place to go where the culture wars can be handled? Do you have any positive? I'm hoping you have some positive feelings about that. What do you see? I know it's a tough issue.
It is a tough issue. And look at Michael. I believe most of us were brought up with public education, through the public education system. As you all know, it's been well documented what they're doing to facilitate these voucher programs. Anybody can get these vouchers at up to $8,500 for each student, even homeschool students. Okay, with that being said, so what that does, Michael, it takes from the reserves of public education, that money follows the child. All right. And so it's collapsing the public education system. That's what it's doing, basically. And we're talking charter schools. And listen, charter schools, I believe in charter schools. I think charter schools have a place in the education system. I really do. But I think some of them have overstepped the boundary what they were intended for. There's a lot of for-profit, if you will, educational institutions that are private charter schools, which is troubling. Now, with that being said, look at the voucher program was in place years ago, and it served a purpose for those underserved or disadvantaged, and it was allowed that student to, school choice, if you will. Now, anybody, and this is a true story. I used the analogy. I said, so in committee, I said, so Tiger Woods' children could get this voucher, this $8,500 for each kid, and go to school. And they go, yeah, there's no cap limit on income level cap limit. And so a couple of days later, I get a call from one of the Tiger Woods' spokesperson that says, please don't use his name. and then he kind of, litigation type thing, and up in the legislature. So I thought that was pretty cool. At least somebody's paying attention out there.
Well, we thank you for going into places wise men fear to tread.
Yeah.
It's not easy. I'm glad you stuck your neck out and are advancing the opinion.
Yeah.
And by the way, those of you on the phone, maybe you can ask Joe where he parks his car in Harvard Yard, and then you'll figure out what state he's from. But you can see he's in the middle of the storm, and everybody likes his philosophy, though, about keeping in touch with the locals. Are there any other questions out there?
I do. I have hi, Representative Casello.
Hi.
How are you? Thank you for
Doing
joining
good.
us today.
Good morning. Good morning.
My name's Vivian DeMille. I'm in healthcare, but my question's in regards to education. And since you're on the education committee, do you think that there is an appetite to put some limitations around not limitations, but like, continue to refine it? There is this, anyone can get the voucher, but technically it's supposed to be for the, based on income. And I don't know that it's working that way, like prioritization based on income, but based on the way the law was written. And is that happening? And is there any caps on it? Like, can anyone and everyone apply? Is there going to be, or do you anticipate that there's room to create a cap as to how much of the funding can move out annually from public schools into other programs?
There is no cap anymore. There used
Right.
to be a income cap, a certain percentage. That cap is now gone. Okay, and here's one of the issues that I see down the road is that other states have done this. Was it Arizona? Was Arizona, I think. And so I think we put aside like $563 million aside to pay for this voucher thing that I just explained. That's the first year, okay? And the state is anticipating that not everyone is going to jump on this program because they can afford to send their kids. But look if there's $8,500 of free money, okay, and you don't have any kind of cap on that as far as income levels, why wouldn't you take it? That'd be foolish. So that's going to grow potentially through the years as more people get familiar with this. More people are going to get into it, and we really don't know where that bottom line number is going to be as far as the taxpayers, cost. So that's one of the things that we haven't talked to. They kicking that can down the road. We seem to, and this is only my opinion, folks, is that sometimes we see these other states doing these, in my opinion, some crazy things or some, real dangerous things out there as far as legislation, and we hook our wagon to their horse, and it hasn't been tested or proven yet. So we'll see where this all goes. But right now, to your question, is no, there is no cap. Anybody is eligible for it. We really don't know what that bottom line is going to be.
Thank you so much. I have one other question regarding healthcare and what you see for, the consideration for healthcare. And we know we're facing a huge workforce issue in healthcare and across the nation, but it's particularly impacting us in Florida. And do you see anything coming out of the legislature this year to address the workforce issues?
Well, I'm on the board of trustees for the JFK Hospital, and it's an interesting scenario. Between the nurses and the doctors and such, and there's a shortage of nurses. There really is, which is affecting the bottom line of the hospitals. And obviously, we don't have to talk about what the past couple of years with COVID did. For elective surgeries and everything like that, which hurt the bottom lines of as far as elective surgeries go. I think that we've got to promote more, have more direction, maybe in nursing programs. These people who go to medical schools. How do we keep these people inside the state of Florida? They leave the state for greener pastures. I think that's another thing that we have to look at. And we made it a little harder now that when somebody comes into the hospital emergency, they got to document them now. If they're a citizen or not.
Yeah.
So I see issues with the healthcare. I really do. I don't have a magic wand to say, if we do this, and it fixes it. But those are some of the issues facing every hospital, at every hospital.
Yeah, there's some talk. I'm with we sit on. I'm particular. We do some primary care, but also behavioral health care, and we're a certified community behavioral health organization and a safety net system here in South Florida, Henderson. And one of the things that we're talking about this year, is how do we incentivize folks in the workforce, and some ideas that came from that are around helping with tuition reimbursement, helping with loan reimbursement for people that are working in the field in Florida. It particularly targets, rather than just a general increase so that we can increase salaries, it particularly targets funding towards folks that are working in either critical need areas or, in organizations that are nonprofit, whatever it is, the parameters around it. But I think that might be an opportunity to target dollars to incentivize people working in Florida and those positions that we need help with.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I think incentives in any kind of profession is a good thing. for those people who work in that particular and keeping them in that profession. I had a legislative aide who was she was a ER nurse, and she left the nursing profession and came into now she's into the political field, and I find that unbelievable. After all those years of training and everything like that, to leave that kind of a work atmosphere to come into this work atmosphere. It's a little different. But getting back to your point, you're absolutely right. The incentives, I think, and let's let these people who go to schools here in some of our great institutions, how do we incentivize them to stay here in Florida? That's the key. All right.
Yeah.
I believe that's where we need to start with that.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Thank you so much.
Great.
So we have Danielle Iverson, and she's from Habitat for Humanity. So she has a question.
Oh, yes. Danielle, how we doing? Good to see you again.
Oh, can't hear you. Can't hear you, Danielle. Okay, so go ahead and type in your question and we'll get it to them. So we'll give her a minute to type her question
Okay,
in.
yeah, sure. Yeah.
It's not working. But it looks like Barry has a question. Barry.
Good morning.
Morning, Barry. How you doing?
Fantastic. Thank you. And thank you for your time this morning. I'm very grateful for serving for us and doing all these great things.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So I'm a local, and one of the focuses that I've had lately is on trying to help improve our local City of Delray Beach golf course down here. Are you familiar with what's happening with that project?
No, but I'm an avid golfer, so anything you promote, I'm on for. So.
Oh my goodness, this is good timing. So anyway, well, the golf course has been struggling over the last 15 years, and I'm a golfer. I happen to live on the course, but it certainly has so much potential. And we just went through bidding for months and months and months, and finally they were all shot down. And I think the commission did the right thing, in my opinion, because they were going to level 10 acres and put up a hotel or and there was sell 10 acres off, et cetera, et cetera. They decided not to do it because it's such a beautiful piece of green space in Delray Beach, and once you give that up, it's gone. So I think they did the right thing. However, we may need some help on trying to. There are some grants or trying to get some money to help redo the golf course. Is there anything that you could potentially help us with regarding that?
Well, first and foremost, there's a couple of holes on that golf course I would like to see leveled. Okay, I played that course many a times. All right, so
exactly. Thank you.
We could eliminate a few of those holes, but I believe that there's money out there for projects like that, especially green space. Keeping places green. And in a form of, we could sit down and we could have this conversation offline and see, what direction you like to take it or what is available. I think that's probably where we need to start. What kind of monies are available to make that happen, to help with the improvement of the course. I get it. I'm not really familiar with all the dynamics and moving parts of what you mentioned here, but I'd be willing to sit down and have that conversation and see if we can get in the right direction. As far as
wonderful,
good result, Barry. Well done. Well played.
Well, if you don't have a line in the ocean, you're not going to catch anything.
Right.
So
talking, Barry, I'm in my office. I got my golf club in the corner of my office.
Oh man, that's great. Thank you very much. I will reach out to you again. My name is Barry Fretti, and we would all be very grateful for any assistance you could give us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, really, Barry. I'm there for you.
I'll connect you too.
Thank you so
Danielle,
much.
did you get?
Yes. Sorry, I had to join by another method, but Representative Casello, thank you so much.
Hey, Vivian, good to see you again. Yes.
Thank you. And thank you for being supportive of Habitat and our programs and the work that we do in the community. I did want to just say for the larger group, that the Palm Beach Legislative Delegation has a number of workshops that they'll be conducting. So I think there's several public workshops, and I think it just provides a great opportunity to talk to the full delegation and of course Representative Casello to bring your issues before and have them, just on record and addressed. And of course, going to Tallahassee to, speak individually to the representatives is also great. So we will definitely be at those workshops, just reintroducing Habitat for Humanity. And again, thank you so much for your support on issues of affordable housing.
Well, I like to give you a shout out too, Daniel. As being a tradesman back up in Massachusetts, we did a lot of projects, helping out on a lot of the projects. And I did a lot of ribbon cuttings down in Boynton Beach over the years as a city commission when we turned the keys over. There's nothing better than see the joy in someone's face, okay, when you hand over those keys on the front porch there to their new home. I think that you can't put a price tag on that. And for the organization, what you do, it's life-saving in a lot of cases. So much appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative.
Okay, so Brian put Representative Casello's contact information in the chat if you want to reach him directly. And Vivian, did you have one more question?
I did. Going back to education, I wanted to bring up Carver here locally. We were working on a technical school here locally that would benefit the south part of Palm Beach County. And I think the plans have been put on hold. And I believe the plans have been put on hold. And I don't want to speak out of turn because I don't know enough. I'm not directly involved because of this issue, from what I've read in our newspaper, because of the issue with the voucher and not knowing what the funding is going to be like moving forward. And I was wondering, and I'm going to bring it up here, I haven't talked to anybody about it, and might bring up more communication if there's an opportunity to maybe ask for some funding for this technical school. I know workforce is a huge issue for us. It's a huge, huge one on the agenda. This is a way to really develop workforce here locally for our community, as if we can get this up and running. We really need it. Our community needs it. Our businesses need it. And I was wondering if there's an opportunity for some type of funding or special appropriations to support it for our community. And I wouldn't be the one to request it. Obviously, that has to come from the school board, but I was wondering if there'd be support for it.
The quick answer to your question is yes. It'd be support for it. But what was it, the Carver School, did you say? And it's been put on hold because they like we talked about a little earlier about this voucher program that's taking the monies, and we don't really know what that bottom line is yet.
Exactly.
We could have that conversation. I'm obviously when you get elected, you make these relationships, and I have a good relationship with the county commissioners and the school board. With the school board. So yeah, that's something that we could all maybe have like a round table workshop type thing.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, that we could put that together.
It would be such a win for our community to get that up and running.
Yeah, sure, of course. And plus the the good it does is invaluable. That invaluable.
Thank you.
Mary Wozni has a question. That's probably going to be the last one that we take, but I'm so glad that everybody gets the hang of this. You've got the right person on the line right now.
Doing a great job, Steph.
Good morning, and I promise I won't take that much time. Representative Casello, I am the Assistant Sustainability Planner for the city. So I just want to throw it out there that we would really appreciate any backing with sustainability issues that come up this year. I know there's a lot that's out there. I know a lot are posed by some people, but as a city, that's one of our big initiatives now is fighting climate change and creating an adaptable city. So we would just appreciate any sort of backing you can give us with that.
We have especially down there in Delray, every time there's a full moon or a king tide, people always seem to make the front page of the Palm Beach Post, those streets flooding. So yeah, no, we get it. We get it, Mary. And I think that the legislator on the whole are sensitive to this, especially some of our coastal communities. That's one thing they do get. Okay, it probably won't come out and say climate change, but
right.
but they do have the concept of what is going to be needed over in the coming years. So
Great, thank you.
yeah, no, yeah, most definitely. Most definitely.
Well, Representative Casello, I think we're going to have you back on again next year because you've been proved very popular with
Yeah.
our audience.
Yeah, no, Stephanie, this is the part of the job that I enjoy the most. Coming back and talking to people, talking to the chambers, talking to the up there in Tallahassee. It is what it is in Tallahassee. Okay, and I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, but it's soul searching here that when I talk to the chambers like this, I get an idea. Okay, you're our ears and eyes in our communities. And it's funny. Like sometimes there was one question a couple of sessions ago, and the issue was on using plastic straws, and that little debate that was going on. And Boynton Beach at the time, we wanted to ban them, and so I asked the question in one of the committees. I said, "How many of you even know where Boynton Beach is?" and we're 456 miles away, and we're making decisions for our coastal communities what they think is good. And you have no idea what the community's needs are or what the issues are, even to make up some of these communities. Not all of them, but a lot of them don't have that idea. And yet they're saying yay or nay in their voting. So when I come to these meetings like this, these chamber meetings, I can't wait till we all get back like in person. I kind of like that back because I get very animated. It's the Italian me, the hands start going and everything like that. And those what I enjoy, but I totally enjoy. I'm a people person, and yeah, definitely. I look forward to coming back.
Well, good. So the next time we'll see you, hopefully, will be at the legislative lunch that
Okay.
you always attend. It's usually the
Okay.
Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and that's where we have our state representatives come and talk about the legislative priorities for the upcoming session. And you'll get to see everybody in person and talk to them about what your priorities are and what their priorities are. So I love seeing representative government in action. This is perfect.
Yeah, it really is. Really is that. But look at just a little chat out there. Like, if you have some ideas as far as some legislation that think that as a chamber would benefit the city of Delray or businesses and on the whole, appropriations. Write those things down and
Okay.
let us be the messenger for you bringing them forward. No promises, but like Barry said earlier, if you don't have the line in the water, you're not going to catch anything, So, and I will be talking to the governor asking why the appropriations I had approved for the Delray were line veto for whatever reason. I give me a reason, that's all I ask. You're the governor, you can do what you'd like, but give me a reason why, there has to be a reason for it.
Great. Keep us posted. So we don't want you to leave because we're going to do our community updates now, and you'll get to hear a little bit from, say, the fire department, or we're hearing about the education breakfast, about property appraisers the coming up. So stick around, and we're going to hand it over to David Beals to call on our partners for their updates quickly.
Great. Okay, I'll stay here. I'm just going to mute myself.
Me too.
Okay.
David, over to you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Representative Casello. It's really been great having you on, and I hope this session is less on cultural issues and more on nitty-gritty of governance. Having said that, I'd like to first call upon Kay Johnson, who is our chair of the chamber. She's also working wonders with the library and also with the Delray Chamber Education Fund. So Kay, give us an update, please.
Well, thank you, David. And thank you, Representative, for this really informative update. I know a lot of what we talked about had to do with education. And our annual Delray Education Breakfast is this Thursday, August 24th at Aloft. There are still tickets available for $40 per person on the Delray Education website, which is the breakfast is run by DCEF, which is the Delray Chamber Education Fund, which is the nonprofit arm of the Delray Chamber. And we have very timely Superintendent Mike Burke is our keynote speaker. And this is a chance to get up close and personal, not only with him about questions you may have about Delray education, but also with new district personnel that's coming in. As we all know, there have been quite a few changes in key district personnel, as well as with all of the principals of the 8 Delray schools will be in attendance. Some nice things are going to happen. We're going to be giving away some money raised from the DCF bus shelter project and some other money that we've raised and some supplies for the teachers. But more important, you're going to get an update on what's going on in our schools.
Thank you, Kay. Any questions for Kay? Okay, let's now turn it over to our great fire department and Chief Tomey. Thanks for coming on, Chief.
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. Commissioner Casello, thank you so much for visiting us today. We really did appreciate it. We love hearing what you have to say. As for the fire department goes, we're doing very well. We are starting our reaccreditation process. So we will be reaching out to members of our community to come and join us for a light lunch and to be our external stakeholders to kind of give us some guidance on what our community wants. It's a community-driven strategic plan. So we're looking forward to seeing some of you guys that are on this call at that stakeholders meeting. So I also want to remind everyone that it is hurricane season. So now is the time to prepare. I know it's been quiet lately, so nobody talks about it, but now is the time to prepare, get a plan together, get your food, your water, all your documents, protect your computers, all that kind of stuff. And if anybody has any type of questions about what they need to do for their business, please reach out to me. I'll get you in touch with our emergency manager who will actually come out to your site if you need to and help you prepare. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Chief. If there are no questions, we'll go to Christine Tibbs from the CRA.
Hi, everyone. So lots of stuff is happening at the CRA this month. Well, just to recap, last month, 95 Southwest 5th Avenue broke ground. So that will be finished hopefully within a year, and it will have 3 affordable commercial rental units right on Southwest 5th Avenue and Southwest 1st Street. What's happening next week is we're having the ribbon cutting for 98 Northwest 5th Avenue. So there are 5 affordable commercial spaces on the 1st floor there and the workspace on the 2nd floor. So join us next week at 5 p.m. on August 10th. That's when the ribbon cutting will be. And right after at 6 p.m., we're hosting our 2nd CRA social, where we invite everybody from the community and especially from the chambers to come and join us, find out what's happening from directly from CRA staff and meet the CRA staff if you haven't already met some of them. And also related to 98 Northwest 5th Avenue, we still have the tenant applications open for the 5 commercial bays on the 1st floor. That is closing on August 14th. So if you know anybody who is looking for a storefront, the rents for 4 of the units are just under $1,000 a month. And one of the units is just about $1,200 a month. That's one of the bigger units that is on the corner of 5th Avenue and 1st there. So that is closing on August 14th. The workspace RFP for the 2nd floor of 98 Northwest 5th Avenue is still, that RFP is closing on August 10th. So if anybody is interested in working with the CRA and operating that workspace and activating it for us, you know, pass on our RFP that's located on our website. We also have applications for resident artist studios at the Arts Warehouse. That is open until August 15th. So if you know of any artists that are looking for a studio that is super affordable and a community of artists to work alongside, please pass on the application that's located on the Arts Warehouse website. And lastly, last weekend was the last summer green market, and we will be putting out the winter green market vendor application shortly. So if you know of anybody who wants to join the winter green market starting October 21st, that application will be located on our website in the near future. And so that's it from the CRA.
Thank you, Christine. Very good. Thank you for all the CRA does for our city. So let's go now to Steve Weinstein. Steve, tell us what's on
Weissman.
property.
Weissman, but that's okay.
Weissman, I'm sorry. I know a lot of Steve Weinsteins. I'm sorry.
All right,
Steve,
while I'm sharing my screen here.
Hey, Steve, what's going to happen with all our property values that are going up 20% the past 2 years?
Well, funny you should ask. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so to go back to what Michael said, the 650,000 number is the total number of parcels we have, the total number of tax bills the tax collector will send out approximately, and another 60,000 for tangible personal property, but that includes all property. That's vacant property, residential, commercial, industrial. What we have is about 720,000 housing units of all kinds. That's apartments, houses, condos, townhouses, et cetera, just to answer that. So I'm here to talk about something that everybody I'm sure is interested in. It's the preliminary values. And the way it starts is we value all the property in the county. And here you have a comparison of 2022 to 2023, 2022 final to 2023 preliminary. That's where we are now for Delray Beach, for the DDA, for the county and the school board. And you can see that Delray Beach went up 13.58%, the DDA 16.73%, the county 13.54%, and school district 15.94%. And we'll talk a little bit about why some of those might be, why the county, for instance, and school board would be different. All right, so how does it all start? We come up with the values. Then we send this lovely form, the Department of Revenue form, to all the taxing authority. Here's the copy of the one that Delray Beach got. And we give them all the values. We give them the rollback tax rate, millage rate, that's line 16. That's if your budget stays exactly the same as it was last year, that's what you need to charge for a millage rate. And then they return it to us with their proposed rate. And that's a very important thing that you'll get on your notice of proposed taxes. I'll explain that in a minute. And so here is all of the different taxing authorities that affect Delray Beach. So you've got the 2022 final, the rollback, meaning the budget stays the same, and the proposed. In green, you have all the ones where they went with the rollback. In other words, they didn't increase their budget from last year. There are not too many of them, they're fairly small. In orange, you've got all the ones that kept it exactly the same as last year, even though values went up. And in white, you've got ones that did some, in this case, some kind of a decrease. So that's what you've got. Rollback total, if you're in the DDA, would have been a decrease in the millage rate of 12.61%, but it's now going to only be an actual of a decrease of 2.7%. Now, how does everybody find out about this? We send out these notice of proposed property taxes. Magic date is April 18th. All right, this is page 1. We call this the trim notice, which stands for truth and millage. And what you're going to see here are the assessed values for all of the different taxing authorities. The market value is at the top, the assessed value. I'll explain really quickly. The difference between that in this case is this sample, these people have a homestead, which means they have a 3% cap. And so we say their market value is 129,960, but because of all the caps, they're only assessed at 100,000. They get exemptions from that on their homestead of 50,000, except for the public schools. They don't get the second 50 on the public schools. They only get 25, which is why the value of the public schools is more. So then you get taxable values. You can see a section where it says assessment reductions, which are all the caps, the 3%, and then the exemptions that are applied. So that is 25,000 homestead, additional homestead of 25 on all non-school taxing authorities. All right, more important, page 2. And here it is, your taxes last year, your taxes, the column 2, if the budget stayed the same, and column 3, what they're proposing. All right, let me tell you what's important about column 3. Once this gets mailed out to you, the taxing authorities can decide before the tax bills come out to lower their millage rate. They cannot by law raise it. So if you wonder what are my taxes going to be, there's your worst case scenario, column 3. And on the bottom are the non-ad valorem, the ones that have nothing to do with value. That's a flat fee to every property that's the same kind. And these are just, there's Lake Worth Drainage, there's Solid Waste Authority, and City of Delray Beach. And those have nothing to do with our values. So if you have a problem with that, please do not call us. Now, the other thing you're going to see there, and those are not necessarily right, are the hearing dates. If you think the taxes are too high, you can call or you can go to one of the meetings. All right. And there they are. They're the public hearings for the county, the school board, Delray Beach, and the DDA. And so, yes, values have gone up again. And as far as affordable housing, I don't know if everyone heard or not. If you're in real estate, you did. The average price of a house in Palm Beach County is now reached $625,000. The highest inflation in the country is Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade County, mostly due to surprise housing. So that's it. If you don't want to wait to get your notice in the mail, you can go to our website, www.pbc.org/PAPA, PAPA, and pull your property up, and your notice will be there on the 18th of August.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Any questions for Steve? Anybody want a tax refund right now?
Remember, that would come from Ann Gannon, not from Dorothy Jacks.
That's true. I know.
No, he doesn't do your taxes. So we
For a
have
moment,
Mary
Steve.
Wasney was on. Did you want to say, she's still here?
Yeah, sure. Real quick, because I know we're short on time, but I will touch on, we do have Climate and Art coming up on September 2nd. That's the city's annual sustainability fest that we do. And we're partnering with Cornell Museum and Arts Warehouse to have talks on Saturday the 2nd between 10 and 2, 10 to 12 at Cornell, and 12 to 2 at Arts Warehouse. And those talks are going to cover everything from greenhouse gas reduction plans, recycling, our urban tree planting program that we're doing, and habitat restoration and water quality. So if you there'll be a ton of information that we'll send to you that we can get out there and post, and it's going to be all over our social media. So any questions about that, shoot me an email.
Thank you. Thank you, Mary. Is
Thanks.
Sergio Piedra still on?
I'm here.
Okay. You want to give us an update?
Yes. First of all, thank you, Representative Casello, for all your support for tourism. Good to see you. I'll just make this very quick. The biggest news we have right now is that we have a brand new website. We've really rebooted and reimagined it. It's still the same address, thepalmbeaches.com. Go out there and check it out. Tell us what you think. If you see something wrong with it, let us know as we work out the last few quirks from it. Our Love the Palm Beaches campaign is coming to an end when the summer ends, and I think it's been pretty successful. We saw some soft tourism at the beginning of the summer. We've seen some improved numbers as it's gone on. And then lastly, just as a reminder, our president and CEO, longtime president and CEO, Jorge Pesquera, is retiring in September. So We'll have a new leader here sooner than later, and perhaps we can bring it on to one of our meetings here and kind of introduce him in the future. So other than that, we'll see what the fall brings, and hopefully no storms. So that's what we're always hoping for. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stephanie, it's all yours. Wrap it up.
Okay, so we're done now. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Just a couple of quick chamber announcements. The Core Men's Group are going to have a great event on August 8th at FAU Stadium up in the skyboxes with build your own burgers and meet and greet with some of the faculty and the athletes. Contacts and Cocktails is at Deck 84 on the 17th. And you don't want to miss a Focus on Women's summer soiree. It's at Sklar Furnishings. It's free. We'll have wine and food and shopping, and it's going to be a great time. So we're looking forward to seeing all of you at our August events, and we'll see you in September. We've got a great lineup for the rest of the year. You'll be getting an email from me, and thank you for joining us today. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.